I just want to change people's perception on what they should be spending money on. I think your number one cost should be on your health and wellness. The number one driver of longevity is it has the most impact on the quality years that you can live in your life expectancy and in your longevity. If it's not this, then it has to be something else, right? Because I do have an addictive personality.
What's your supplement stack look like today?
I cycle on and off of.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Javi Chavez, COO of 5, 7 to 8 figure companies with Ryan Pineda. Today, I have two-time Ironman completionist and two-time CEO, right? Yeah. So Justin Hubbard on the podcast. Super excited to kind of get into it. But man, how do you balance looking this jacked and running two businesses at the same time?
A lot of time management. Saying no to a lot of things, to be honest. I learned the power of saying no when I was in nightlife. Everything, you're being invited to every event, and kind of at first, when you're first into it, you say yes to everything. You're like, oh my gosh, this is great, but you have no time for yourself. So I think I read a book, Power of No, something like this. And I started to take notes on, saying no. And I thought I would lose a lot of business. Come to find out I gained more business because I was able to focus and put a lot more quality hours behind the work I was doing.
Nice. So what does your daily routine look like right now?
Right now, it's interesting. I change it up a lot. But I'm a firm believer in a daily buy-in. So I tell all my members at B10 as well that they should have a daily buy-in, and this can consist of anything. I like do something hard in the morning. So right now I'm consistently on the bike. So this morning got on the bike, did over an hour, which, about 22 miles.
And so how boring is that? Are you like listening to a podcast? Are you listening to music? Like, how do you keep your mind focused for an hour?
I listen to books or podcasts.
Okay, there we go.
That's another thing it's another discipline in my life. I try to not listen to things I've heard before because obviously you're not learning and growing from that. So I try to at least listen to a book a week, and then read a book a week. So, and then how it works is usually I'll get done with the book by Saturday that I'm listening to. So then on Sundays I listen to the podcast. So, I'm big on the All In podcast right now. It keeps me current with all the events going on. Current in the business world as well. So I'll listen to those on Sundays, and then I get another fresh book on Monday.
There we go. Okay. So now we're on the bike. What's next?
So I wake up. First and foremost, I do a meditation session. So I do 20 minutes of meditation first thing in the morning. 40 ounces of water. So one full Stanley as it stands right now. I'm currently using that. I dig it.
Nice. So 40 ounces, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but 40 ounces of water right when you wake up.
Yeah.
Okay. Then meditate. Like, because I meditate at night. Like, that's like my time. Like, do you like it better in the morning, or do you do both? Or is it like just getting your mind right before you start the day?
I've tried both. I've throughout the years, I've tried many different things, but I find it better in the morning because you can check in on what you're feeling that day, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling calm. And sometimes what I've learned over the years is not to battle with what's going on. So I just learned to kind of like be like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those days. And then you can kind of operate doing that. If you start trying to stop thoughts or stop feeling anxious, then I feel like you just put too much pressure on yourself, and it just, it makes it worse. So I'll sit down and I ask myself questions. So first question is, how am I feeling today? And if my breaths are short, then I know I'm feeling a little bit anxious. What's going on? What's on the horizon? Is there a big meeting? Am I nervous about this podcast? Things like this. And then if my breaths are long and free flowing, then I know, okay, cool, I'm in a good headspace today. I can get some good work done. So I find it's a good setup for my day. I check in with myself. Yeah.
How important is your breath in everything that you do? Because I know for me personally, like it's like the most important thing for, if, like you mentioned, if I'm about to jump on a podcast or if I'm about to go into a meeting, like taking those 5 deep breaths before you get into, your whatever the thing is, right? So like, when did you start really being conscious of your breath?
I would say when I started the journey of just trying to figure out life and who I was. I started to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm an Excel nerd, man. So I put everything on journal, and then I'll put it into an Excel spreadsheet if it has numbers. And I would listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast religiously. I actually went back and listened to every single one he's done.
Nice.
And I'm an extremist as well. So I started to write down, because he asked the same 5 questions. He asked the morning routine, and he'll go down the line. And I wrote down the 5 answers that they would give, and I wrote down who the guest was. And I realized that 80% of his guests, who are all super successful in their own right, meditated. So I said, okay, there must be something behind this. So of course, like anybody else, I tried it, downloaded Headspace, downloaded Calm, all the common apps. And, I just went for it. And what I started to realize was, is this working? Like anybody would, right? You're sitting there and you're like, okay, like, yeah, train of thoughts. This is weird. You feel uncomfortable. And you start to get anxious because you're like, man, I should be doing something. But once you kind of break through that barrier of realizing like, no, you shouldn't be doing something. You should be sitting here and trying to be still. And then, it's funny. I'll segue. I tell everyone who I try getting into meditation, I say, you'll never know it's working until the day you do. And usually the day you do is when somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're able to calm yourself with your breath. And you're like, oh my gosh, maybe that came from meditation. Yeah. Because normally you'd get super angry.
That's funny. That's the true test. I love that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's get back to your routine. So wake up, meditate, 40 ounces.
Yeah.
On the bike, or is there something in between?
I'll stretch. Okay. So I got red light set up and we call it the hobby room. And, I'll meditate and stretch in front of the red light. Again, that's another thing I'm just trying to test out, whether it works or not. I like the science behind it. So over the course of the last decade, I've just been this science experiment. My morning routine started off as like a 5-hour routine. I realized, oh man, I need to condense this because this morning routine becomes like a daily routine. So I'm on this now.
Oh, quick question. What time do you wake up?
6 a.m.
Okay, 6.
And that's changed over the years too.
Got it. Yeah.
I woke up at 3:30 for 1,000 straight days, and I was just like, I'm just this guy. I don't need sleep and all this stuff. Now, this is recent too. It's funny because on my Whoop stats, you can tell like over the last 6 months what I've been focusing on. I've been focused on sleep, so 90% or above. Otherwise, it's a fail. So I'm strict on myself on sleep. So now I try to get in bed around 8:30. I read at night, and then I'll try to go to sleep around 9:30, and I'm up at 6. Giving me it's either a 90 to 100% sleep score, which is on average. And just I'm currently like in this test phase of, do I need that much sleep or not? Because I just started doing this within the last 2 months.
There we go. How are you feeling versus previously?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Sleep is the ultimate drug, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm serious. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah. So I over the course of Ironman, like you beat your body up, right? So I've battled broken bones injuries and a lot of inflammation. So inflammation, from what I've gathered over my studying myself, happens a lot with food and then lack of sleep. So I've now over the last 2 months, I'm just like slowly getting better and better and better the way I feel. And it's interesting because it's not, you don't get 8 hours one night and feel great. You might like placebo affect it where you're like, oh man, I got a fresh, good night of sleep. I feel amazing. No, you have to do it for a consistent amount of time, because I was only sleeping 4 hours a night for years, 4 to 6. And my Whoop would never be above 50% sleep score. Never. Yeah. And I didn't realize how far away from normal that was. My new normal was feeling terrible. So.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, cause I wear the Aura ring.
Cool.
And like similar thing where like, I've gotten it down where I know I need about like 7.5 hours into 8 to like really feel like on my A game. Anything less. And I can just tell I'm so sluggish. Well, not super sluggish, but like, I'm not at 100%. So same thing, like for me, it's like at 85 or above. And I'm like, okay, like I'm rolling.
Yeah. So like to quantify it, what I realize is if I get less than 7.5 hours of sleep, I'm more anxious that day. So my thoughts are a little bit more quick, and it's kind of hard to gather them. It's kind of hard to, I'm constantly thinking about what's next, building up anxiety throughout the day. The more sleep I get, the more calm I am.
Yeah.
So it kind of coexists with the meditation.
There we go. So after that, what's next? So stretch, bike.
Yeah, so stretch in front of the red light, then I'll get on the bike. And again, so training for Ironman, you're on a program. So regardless of whether you feel good or not, you kind of have to do the training. That's the thing about Ironman. The training is everything. If you get through the training, you'll complete the race.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can just not do and go do.
How long did you train for your first Ironman?
My first one's an interesting story. I trained for 4 months, which I don't recommend. I didn't know what I was doing. I was... triathletes are very, smaller in size and they're not these jack dudes. So like at first I was like, oh dude, I'm just going to like increase my weight training. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a coach, had no idea.
Entrepreneurs, if you're looking to grow your business, there is no better thing to do than build your personal brand. At Pineda Media, we will coach you on exactly what to do to build that brand in 2023. Then we take that coaching and apply it. We will film, edit, and produce all of your content for social so you can focus on the things that matter in building your business. If you want to learn more, click the link below to book a call with my team.
How it happened was I bought a bike for my birthday and I started riding the bike. And like I said, I was an extremist. So I went from 20 miles to 100 miles. And my friends fell off at that point. They're like, dude, you're crazy. You're going by yourself. So I would just ride by myself. I would map out all around Vegas. I've literally rode a bike all around Las Vegas many times. I've rode out to California and back.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done some pretty cool bike adventures. Yeah, solo, because nobody wants to go.
So how far did you go to California? Were you camping on the side of the road? Like,
no,
what's that look like?
one day.
One day.
Yeah, so I went through Searchlight all the way down, and it ended up being like right around 150 miles total. Yeah, dude, Whoop strain 21 maxed out. Like that was probably the worst thing. It wasn't the best decision. I don't recommend it. And I'm on the side of the highway too.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of sketchy. It's scary, dude.
Yeah. How long did it take you to complete? Like hour wise, do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I stopped, there's a gas station at Searchlight. So I stopped on the way out. I stopped on the way back. Yeah, I mean, man, a couple years ago now, probably right around the 6 hour mark, 7 hour mark.
All right.
Yeah.
It sounds tough.
With a backpack with like a straw.
Just a quick little Camelback.
Dude, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So back to your Ironman training. Yeah.
So I was getting to the point where I was riding these insane rides. At this point I had no clue what Ironman was.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to work and a buddy of mine at work used to ride with me as well. His name is Dustin. And I was like, dude, I think I want to do a triathlon. You know, I'm pretty good on the bike as he knew. And I was like, I love running. I've never swam before, so this will challenge me to learn how to swim. So I just started looking up Las Vegas Triathlon, and through that search, I got hit with the ad of the Ironman. And in the very first thing, it's a great ad. You know, good job on them. It says it's the hardest single day event ever created. So of course I'm like,
I got it. Yeah,
sign me up. You know, like anything that that requires a lot of pain to get through. I'm like, oh, I'm all in. So signed up. I looked. So I went into the Ironman site and I was like, okay, well, when are these races? And I saw one in Florida. 4 months from the day I was looking, and I was like, cool, I'll sign up. I was a late registrate. I was late to sign up, so it was $1,000. So I was like, cool, signed up. And the very next day I went and jumped in a pool and realized, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what I'm doing. I couldn't even swim one end to the next. And this is not a lie. I would panic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know how to keep yourself alive in the water, but you actually the skill of swimming is different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So how did you overcome that? Like how much time? So you said 4 months. So like
it was 4 months. Yeah.
And so what was your training split looking like in the pool?
Yeah. So the first 2 months, it was just me making it up. Like I said, I had no idea. I didn't even know there was professionals in this sport. Mm-hmm. I just thought this was one of those crazy events, like running 100 miles, right? Like you come to learn that, oh, dude, people do this like on tour. They make money in Ironman and all this stuff. Yeah. So yeah, first 2 months, it was just me and Dustin trying to like figure out what we should do. Should we run today? Sure. Let's go for a run. Cool. Yeah. We're going to have to run a marathon. So let's just run 13 miles today.
See what happens.
Yeah. Break your legs. Like like this is not the way to train, right? It's terrible. So, and I was pretty confident on the bike. So I was like, okay, running and swimming. And then when I realized I couldn't swim well, I said, oh my gosh, dude, this is going to be in open water. Can't put your legs on the ground. Like it's do or die. And unfortunately people do die in Ironman. There's been over 187 deaths.
Wow.
Yeah. And almost every year, like you'll read a pretty tragic story about somebody not making it out of the water.
That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So
how did you overcome that fear and that just doing it?
YouTube, bro. So like anybody else, I took to YouTube University and I just typed in, I started following swimmers and I just started typing in like how to swim. Mm-hmm. And then I lived in the pool, man, 8 hours a day. Like I said, so I worked nightlife. So and at this point I was the lead. So, I did a 13-year career. So, in the very beginning, if you put a lot of work in, it pays off at the end. So a lot of business was coming to me. Fortunately enough, I had built my career in the right way to where I was going to hit all my requirements. And also I scheduled my time management to where I can just manage the team and train at the same time. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to the owner of the company or my boss, this is what I was doing. He kind of figured it out later and he became an Ironman later too. That's a cool story. Yeah. He's in the documentary as well.
Nice.
But anyway, so yeah, just 8 hours in the pool, man. 8 hours in the pool
Wow.
a day. And yeah, it was do or die. So I said, okay, I'm going to live in the pool as much as I possibly can, no days off, and just figure this out.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So the actual Ironman itself, like, do you have a moment where you were like, dude, am I going to finish this? Or were you just so determined the whole way through? Yeah.
No, dude. Yeah. It's funny that you brought that up. Very, very beginning, jumped in the water. So unfortunately, the race that I was doing was supposed to be in Panama City, which was in the ocean. And I was like kind of training for that. There was a hurricane that came that year, and they had to move the race down to Haines City, Florida, where they have a half Ironman. So essentially, we're just doing the course twice. And there was like 11 turns in the swim. It's the hardest swim ever. Yeah. So you had to sight and look up and see these buoys. And of course, I got lost. But anyway, I jump in and I'm cruising right in the beginning, and I'm like, man, I'm crushing this, right? I got to be at least at 1,000, 2,000 meters at the time. And I look at my watch and it said like 150 meters. And I was like 10x less than what I had perceived. Yeah. So I instantly started panicking, and I was like, okay, because now I'm like kind of sitting up, and I'm kind of like doggy paddling, and my heart's racing super fast, and I can't calm myself down. So I'm like, dude, is this possible? You know, because when you're looking, 2.4 miles in the water, like it looks like it's infinite.
Far. Yeah.
So I'm looking at these buoys, and there's all these turns, and I'm watching everyone just swim right by me. I'm dead last place probably. And I'm like, oh man. I was like, I what did I do? I bit off more than I can chew here. So at that point I was like, no, I was like, look, just keep moving forward. So that I just kept saying that in my head the whole time, keep moving forward at all costs. So there's people in canoes and jet skis that came up and said, hey, are you okay? And they said, do you want to continue on? I said, yeah. Yeah. And that was it, man. I pretty much freestyled and breaststroked the whole first race. Dude, shoulders were thrashed.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, and I don't, so like, what are the ideal strokes? So like you have freestyle, breaststroke, like what else is everyone else doing? Like it's a freestyle. Freestyle the whole time? Okay,
yeah. Freestyle, sense. I mean, it keeps you, obviously you're in like a torpedo shape, and there's less drag on the water, and you can swim the fastest. And also too, you like on every like fourth stroke, they train you to kind of pop up in sight to see where the buoys are and go back in.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's tough.
So first race was rough, man.
Yeah. So how does it break up? So is it the same? So it's like run the marathon, then water, then bike, or like it's
swim, bike, run? Swim,
bike, run. Oh, okay. So like once you got through the tough part, then you're able to move on to. Yeah. You felt pretty good afterwards, or?
Yeah. The whole time I was like, give me to the bike. Yeah. Because I knew I crushed the bike. I was just give me to the bike. That was playing in my head. Move forward, give me to the bike. Move forward and give me to the bike. And sure enough, man, I got out of the water. I was probably pale white, just like. I didn't know what I was doing. People had to guide me to where the bikes were. I totally had forgot.
So why do it again?
Yeah. So the second time that I've done it, so I've done more than two, but
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
How many have you done?
4 total fulls and one half. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So the second time I did it, I was traveling with my girlfriend at the time, and there happened to be a race. We planned this Europe trip. We were going to go to Switzerland and obviously London, all the places over there. And in Switzerland, at the time that we were there was a race. So I said, hey, this is cool. To back up a little bit, when you finish that race, it's the greatest feeling of all time. You just did something you never thought was possible. There's a lot of emotions, and you're kind of beat up. So for the first week, you're like, I don't even want to look at a bike ever again. I don't want to look at running shoes ever again. Never go back in the water. And then that wears off. And then you kind of think to yourself like, man, I worked so hard for that. Am I just not ever going to do that again? And my answer to myself was like, no, dude, like you learned so much through training. You learned how to heart rate train. You built your body into this, I looked a lot different. I was like athletic, you go to like aerobic athleticism, right? So it's a lot different than like sitting there working out on a bench. And I was like, I'm not going to let that go to waste. Like I'll still continue to do endurance events. I didn't know what that would look like, but that was my thought at the time. And then we were planning the Europe trip, and I saw there was an Ironman in Switzerland at the time. So I said, hey, dude, I'm going to train for this, and I'm going to go do it. But again, I didn't give myself the proper time.
How much time did you have?
It was within the 3-4 months. I was, and my body was kind of broken up. Like, so my knees were hurting, and I would start to develop stress fractures in my shin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But anyway, that race came, Switzerland race, that was tough in and of itself. So the swim, that I was I was cool in the water at that point. I set a little PR in the water.
There we go.
But the bike this time around was a challenge. Swiss Alps, dude.
Oh, yeah. I did the elevation gain.
Dude,
and man.
And it was pouring rain. So even on the downhills, like I had to ride the brakes. I wasn't familiar with this course. This is a different country.
Totally.
Yeah, I didn't even know like what was going on.
That's tough. Entrepreneurs, if you're still feeling stuck in your business in 2023, it's probably because you don't have the right SOPs in place. You still don't understand how to put people in the right seats to maximize their productivity. And you probably don't have the right KPIs to measure those people against. So for that reason, we've rolled out Wealthy Business. Wealthy Business is where we coach entrepreneurs every single week on those exact things and how to scale and grow. It's the most comprehensive curriculum we've ever rolled out. And if you have any questions or you're curious about what it entails, click the link below to book a free call with my team. And then so after that, what's next for you? Are you training for anything else anytime soon or?
Like currently, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so long following this timeline. So it was after that I said, I remembered one thing about that Switzerland race is you kind of had to run by where the finish line was a couple times. So the first time I ran by, I heard somebody finishing and they announced the time, they announced the name, they say you're an Ironman. So when it's the coolest feeling ever. But when this person was finishing, they got under 10 hours. I remember them being like 9:59, you broke 10 hours, so-and-so's name. And he was, within the top 10 of his age group. So I remember after the Switzerland race, just thinking to myself, like, okay, maybe I'll try to break 10 hours. And just so everyone knows, to break 10 hours, you have to become elite at all three sports. So it's no longer just like a hobby. You actually have to become, top 1% at swimming, top 1% at biking, top 1% at running, generally speaking.
Sure.
So that ended up becoming a goal, and that's what ended up being picked up and filmed for a documentary.
Yep. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So I have this idea, and I start just kind of talking to my friends about it. And I talked to my best friend Justin Levy, and I said, "Hey, man, I want to break 10 hours in Ironman, and after that, I'll retire. I'll be done with Ironman." Yeah. And he goes, "You're crazy, dude." And I said, "I want to start filming this for YouTube." And that was my idea at the time. And he's like, and I said, "But I don't have a camera. I don't know what to do. What equipment do I need? How do I structure it?" He said, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to a couple of guys because he is the vice president of marketing for Tao Group. So he has a bunch of video guys at all times around him. So, he kind of gets in contact with this guy named Joe, and Joe ends up calling me and he's like, 'Hey man, Justin kind of gave me your contact. Told me what you were doing.' He goes, 'I live in LA. I own a film studio and we do documentary films.'" Cool. He goes, "Tell me more about the story." So he ended up coming to Vegas. We had a few meetings, and he was just captivated by the fact that I would work all night. I would take a nap, train, nap, train, nap, train, nap, train. Like that was my schedule for this Breaking 10 race. And then I told him, I said, "Dude, I'm essentially going to have to train 4 years in 1 year. So can the human body physically handle that? 4 years of training within 1 year while working nightlife?" So sure enough, he's like, "Let me see if we can get this funded." And he came back to me. He's like, "Dude, we got greenlit." And he goes, "We're going to start filming. We're going to do it for a course of 1 year. We're going to film you." And they started in November 2019. And the most overwhelming experience of all time. I mean, this guy, like when you wake up out of bed.
Yeah, you got a camera in your face.
Yeah, and like our living room looked like this. So you guys can't see, but there's lights and cameras all over the place. Like they had to turn wherever I was into this. I couldn't even go to a restaurant without them having to call 2 hours in advance to see if they can bring cameras in there.
Wow.
So everything was insanely planned. We had to have an executive assistant like book everything for me. So it was really weird. It's probably how like a very like 1% of what the president would feel, right? Like imagine like having to go like
sure, like just call ahead everywhere. Like I get
you can't even be like, "Oh dude, I'm just gonna randomly wake up today and just go to the store or whatever." No, dude, like I had to like almost check in with them at all times because they wanted to capture pretty much every moment.
Yeah.
And then build a story around it.
And it's already out, correct?
It's not. It's in distribution now. So
there we go.
When you film a movie, I'm learning this all now. It takes years to edit. So we ended in November 2020. That's when we had the race, which that COVID year, that was insane. The races were canceled. We can touch on that if you want to. But and then it took them about 1.5 years, 2 years to edit the movie. And then now that it got picked up by distribution, there's a company essentially that buys the movie for 10 years. And they say, "Hey, we're just going to sell this. We're going to, Netflix wants it for 2 months. Then we can go on other streamers, whatever that looks like." And there's a process to this that I had no clue about. But they need to he needs to resubmit like for audio and video because on certain platforms require different like codecs or whatever on how they show things.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it passed all of that.
Nice.
And then we had to go and get this certification of authenticity and sort of like prove that we were the ones that own the film. So that was a weird, interesting process that we went through. Yeah. And then, you know, once we got this certification, it's like, it's wild. It's like an award. It looks like an award. It says you made a feature length film. It's called Breaking 10. It's stamped. It's
cool.
You know, signed off. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And then now we got picked up for distribution. It went to the film festivals. It won 2 film festivals.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. The LA Film Festival, it won Documentary of the Year. And then for the LA Documentary Film Festival, it won Movie of the Year.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got these like laurels and stuff.
Yeah. Dude, well, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks,
yeah.
man.
So now it's just like waiting to see who's going to pick it up essentially.
Yeah. So they pretty much, the company now that we struck a deal with essentially goes around and they pitch it and see what the best deal is that they can get. And for 10 years, they just resell it over and over again.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And so is that how Breaking 10, is that kind of the correlation?
Yeah. So during the process of the filming, I was making my own supplements at the time, just because when I switched from weight training to endurance sports, I realized, okay, you know, I need some carb supplements, you need some, you know, electrolytes and all this sort of stuff. And I was combining a bunch of different supplements from different brands. And when I started to get asked what supplements I took, I started to just send lists to people. And one of my customers was like, hey, you should create that yourself and put it and bottle it up and make a business.
Yeah.
So during the year of filming, I started to go to manufacturers and start to, you know, patent these products and, you know, created 3 products and yeah, I was like, what should I call this company? And I was like, oh, well, Breaking 10, B10, cool.
Perfect.
B10, yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. So what's your supplement stack look like today?
What am I taking?
Yeah. What are you taking?
What am I taking?
Yeah.
So it's funny because
if you can tell me.
no, of course. So I cycle on and off of caffeine.
Okay.
So currently I'm not taking any caffeine. So there's no pre-workout in my it's okay, when I mean caffeine, like no pre-workout supplements, I do drink coffee.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, so the extra caffeine, like so most pre-workouts have caffeine anhydrous. It's without water. It's a unnatural way of getting caffeine, but it hits you a lot harder. So I'm currently not taking any pre-workout.
Do you take any other like pre-workout type supplements or
no?
Okay,
No. I'm just kind of seeing how my heart, my heart rate is on the bike. No supplementation before I get on. So right after I do the stretch, I get on. Usually I would have some sort of pre-workout, spike the heart rate a little bit, and just kind of get, you know, it's a good feeling, right?
Yeah,
like get those jitters.
Juices
yeah,
going.
you get the itches, and you're like, all right, let's go. Yeah. So currently none of that. I'm trying to do it all like kind of dry and just see how the heart is. And it's crazy. It's 10 beats less per minute, which is nuts. So yeah, heart's reacting really well. Anyway, currently I wake up in the morning. I'm kind of back on not eating for like the first 3 hours. I've experimented with myself on eating right away, what to eat. Is it oatmeal? Is it bagels? Is it eggs? What is it? Is it protein? Is it carbs? You know, so I wake up, I'll press the coffee pot, hit my morning routine, hit my bike. And then afterwards in my coffee, black coffee, I'll put fiber in it.
Okay.
I'll put they're called coffee bombs. It's essentially like saturated fats right in there. So it's fats, fiber, and then I'll put some cacao nibs in there, mix it all up and drink that. Fiber is incredible, by the way. And I was super deficient in fiber. I think most Americans are.
Yeah, I would say I probably am too. That's probably the one thing that I'm the most deficient in if I really think about my diet. And so like,
dude,
and what are the benefits for people who might not know?
Right. So, I mean, lower cholesterol levels, you become way more regular. This is probably TMI, but like there was times where like there'd be days where I wouldn't go to the bathroom. Like I wouldn't go number 2, if you would. And I started to kind of talk about it and people were like, dude, that's terrible. Like that is very unhealthy. So I have a personal doctor as well. And I started to tell him and I would have, my stomach would hurt all the time. I'd be bloated all the time. Like, I don't know what's going on. And he goes, goes, yeah, let's check your fiber level. So we check our fiber levels, 0.
Oh man.
in the American diet, like just fiber is just non-existent. I mean, you have to like eat like, whole foods and fruit, a lot of it to get to get the fiber intake. Peter Attia takes 50 grams of fiber a day.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
anyway.
How
many grams of fiber do you think you are taking right now?
Yeah, so there's too much. So I learned this. So again, I'm an extremist. So I start
all the way on the other side of the spectrum.
I start putting full scoops of fiber in everything I'm doing, right? Because I get like the flavorless, and it's not bad. So I just start putting in everything I do, and I probably got up to about 60, 70 grams a day, and realized that you can become bloated that way as well, and then you can actually become backed up that way. So the fiber, you can overdo the fiber. So I was like, okay, let's peel it back. So I'm probably right around 30 grams of fiber a day.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's morning. So fats, fiber, coffee.
Any like multivitamins or like any other supplements?
Yeah. So I do about 10,000 ICUs of D3 a day. I do K2 as well. There's science behind that, right? The K2, the byproduct of D3 is calcium, and if you don't have K2 essentially directs the calcium to the bones, right? If you don't have that, it could get into your bloodstream, could be toxic. So K2 to supplement the D3, and then I'll do, I take vitamin C, I take zinc, and then I'll do ashwagandha and magnesium.
Yep.
But I have a morning supplements and then morning vitamins, night vitamins.
For sure. Yeah. Dude, I think the biggest change for me, at least in the last like 3 months, has been zinc and magnesium at night. And I sleep so much better.
Yeah.
Like I don't it's some supplements I take and I'm like, I don't know if these are working, but like it can't hurt. Yeah. Like, so I think like prior to that, ashwagandha was like a big change too. Like I feel like that's been helpful for me. But yeah, the zinc and magnesium at night has been A1.
Add echinacea in there too. So zinc's your fighter. So essentially like any sort of toxins in your body, or if you're getting sick, zinc, dude, double zinc. So if you feel like you're getting sick, double up your zinc.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously D3 is your hormone balance. So hormone balance and energy and immune system function. So the combination of D3 and zinc, if there was nothing else but those two, you would be okay with just taking those. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, more so than like a vitamin C. A lot of people are like, oh, vitamin C for immune system, but no, not really. D3 and zinc for sure.
Love that. So what's your night supplementation?
Yeah, so I do the magnesium at night. I'll take another zinc at night. I do echinacea as well.
What's that?
Echinacea is for immune system.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of times people take it when they're feeling sick. It's a natural herb. But yeah, no, I've been on taking it every day. I heard Peter Attia talk about it. It's like, oh, if he takes it every day, so sure, I will too. Yeah, knock on wood, I haven't been sick for a very long time. Yeah, anyway, so, and then I'll do, so magnesium. So magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer. So that's why you sleep really well. Yeah. And then valerian root. So valerian root promotes deep sleep in like REM wave.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah. So it's funny because me being a numbers guy.
Yeah.
So I'm now sleeping 90 to 100%, but my actual restorative sleep has been terrible.
Oh, interesting.
like less than 30%. So you want to get it to about 40% of your total sleep time. You want to be in restorative sleep. So I'm learning this now. So now that I'm like, okay, well, I've conquered the amount of sleep, but now I'm not sleeping
Getting
properly.
Higher quality sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started taking valerian root, magnesium at night, a little bit more of a dosage, zinc as well, ashwagandha. And
take ashwagandha at night?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I've noticed my restorative sleep go up. So I used to average about 28%. Now I'm about 35%. Still under optimal. You want to be about 40. So I'm still like experimenting with what I can do. You know what else too is not eating. So I've noticed if I eat within 2 hours before going to bed, deep sleep and REM sleep are terrible.
Oh yeah.
But if I eat 3 hours or less, right? So sometimes you go to bed with a little bit of hunger in your stomach is actually optimal. Like you're very healthy if you feel that hunger pain.
Totally. Yeah. I that's been helpful. Like I do notice that same thing with the ring where like my heart rate will decline later at night if I eat like within 2 hours. Drinking's the worst. Like,
I'm pretty much alcohol free now.
Really?
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm close. Like I got like, I'm declining it to like 1 or 2 drinks per like on a Saturday or something.
Yeah.
But like, aside from that, I don't drink during the week just because I've noticed that my heart rate is like 5 to 8 BPMs higher every single time I drink.
That's terrible.
Yeah, no,
everyone's is, by the way.
No, it's bad, right? So like I hover right around like 46 to 48 at night.
Resting heart rate.
Resting heart rate.
Yeah.
And then, the
That's
second,
solid, dude.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I do like a lot of like HIIT and cardio and stuff like that, trying to keep my heart rate up, like on my workouts, just for that reason. But yeah, I think every time I drink, it's like 55 to 60, and I'm like, oh my God.
You're pretty much awake.
Yeah, basically.
You are awake. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I tell people, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, listen, there's a lot of studies on longevity and stuff, and this is kind of what I nerd out about. But regardless of that, it's thinking logically on it. If my heart is beating at 45 at night and yours is beating at 60, and we're sleeping for 8 hours, that means that your engine is working twice the amount of mine is. So if I were to drive a car and you were to drive a car and you drove it 3 times as hard, which car is going to break down first?
Exactly.
So, whether or not that translate exactly, I don't know, but it
makes
logically
sense.
like thinking about it, you're like, if I heard this thing one time that we all have a certain amount of heartbeats.
Yeah, I was about to say that too, by the way. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because it's true. Like I feel like there's probably only so many, and even if there isn't, I think it makes logical sense. Yeah, so I'm with you.
So I don't want my heart beating that fast all the time, man. Yeah, for workouts it's okay.
Yeah, it's just it trains, and so that way, like, bringing it back down. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for me has been like cutting out as much alcohol as I can. Have you tried kava before?
Kava.
So it's like this root tonic thing that's supposed to simulate the same kind of like buzz feeling like as alcohol.
Really?
And I actually tried it for the first time this weekend. It was at like a farmer's market, and it worked. And I was like, this is interesting. I don't know what like the long-term effects are. Yeah, it's natural. Yeah. So it's like a natural root. And again, this guy was just a sales guy, so he's probably pitching me on like all the benefits. Yeah, no, so I got to research it, but it was basically like it stimulates similar receptors in your brain that alcohol does, but doesn't have the same like negative effects and all that. But yeah, so I bought like a glass or whatever, and I drank it, and yeah, I mean, it worked. Like it was like a nice like kind of steady buzz throughout like, I don't know, if like an hour or two.
Wow.
And yeah, and then no negative effects.
And
same
felt
heart.
Okay then?
Yeah, felt okay. Like no
Slept
big change in the ring, like in terms of my heart rate, and I woke up feeling fresh and fine. So
wow.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm not going to become a kava alcohol drinker,
kava-holic.
Kava-holic, but yeah, it was cool. So like I'm always into like trying new things just to see like what's going on. But yeah, so I think it's cool.
Yeah, the no alcohol thing for me, man. I mean, obviously I was a nightclub host, so
yeah, so that's super interesting.
Yeah,
like, did you just see like the bad side of it, or
oh
like
my gosh, yeah. So for the first 5 years, I mean, listen, as a nightclub host, to get business, a lot of like the old school methodology behind it was, the more you're seen, the more business will come your way. And there's some truth to that, for sure. So for the first 5 years, I knew nothing. There's no real handbook on how to how to get business. And I was the worst host ever until I was the best. That was terrible. I was sleeping in my own car. I made no money, dude, made zero money. But anyway, so I just thought, like, if I go out every night, and then what does that mean? That means you have to go to work. So you're working at the club, and then after your work shift, you go to the other clubs, and then you go to the after hours, right? Just to meet everybody around town, and hopefully they send you business.
Did that work?
No. I mean, no, it worked on me negatively affecting my health. I was drinking and, experimenting in drugs and of course, and women and all this stuff. And I was moving so far away from who I truly was, like deep inside. I'm a morning person at heart. I learned from my grandfather. He was an athlete. I wanted to be an athlete my whole life, and this was not the athletic way to live. So yeah, so for the first 5 years I was partying a lot. And I woke up one day and snapped my fingers and said, that's enough. And again, it was another one of those risks, because in the moment, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be as far as my business was concerned. In nightlife, it's all commission based. So, and I was the fun party host, so my customers liked to book with me because I would go and take them to strip clubs after we were done partying at the nightclub and invite a whole bunch of people that probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then it's funny because in the timeline of my life, that's when I decided not to drink and party anymore. That's when I bought the bike, and that's when I signed up for the Ironman. So I had to, if it's not this, then it has to be something else, right? Because I do have an addictive personality.
For sure. I think a lot of entrepreneurs that like or high achievers have some sort of addictive personality.
There's a drive.
They just need, it's drive. And so they need to be stimulated in some way. So you got to make sure that it's healthy stimulants as opposed to
healthy
the
stimulation,
negative ones.
Well, for sure. That's well said. And yeah, so my drive was to become the best host ever and produce the most revenue. But within that was the thought of I have to drink and I have to party, right? And so the more I did that, maybe the more it would translate on the back end. So what I realized is once I gave all that up and I started to tell my customers that, hey, I'm not drinking anymore, I'm not partying, I'm actually going to train for an Ironman, I got more business because I was able to focus on the work more.
Yep.
When you're drinking and partying, all of a sudden, I would get text messages throughout the night like, hey man, I thought you were supposed to set me up over here. They're saying I don't have a reservation. And I'm like, oh man, totally forgot about that one. And I would forget people coming in. So now that I made this change, I had a clear mind. And when I had a clear mind, I was able to really exponentially, gain more business because I was focusing on the business for this X amount of time. And then I would focus on the training side of things. And then my customers that I thought were going to leave me were actually more interested that I was doing Ironman. So they were like, tell me more about this. I want to take you to dinner so you can explain to me what this is. And it kind of became a thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then I think that also bleeds into just being authentically yourself. Yeah. Because people then are going to be attracted to that. Where like now you're training for something that's super interesting. And even though they're not coming to Vegas to learn about an Ironman, but like now you're the Ironman host, right? Like
I was. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I became that. Yeah, I think I was the first one as a host to ever do an Ironman.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then talk to me now about like the business that you're running today, right? So you start the supplement company. Right. What does that look like for your first, 6 months?
Yeah, interesting. So I had the backing of a customer of mine. He kind of started to help me financially and started to fund a lot of what we were doing. But I also had made a lot of money in some investing myself. So I invested in crypto and kind of rode that wave. And
nice.
Yeah, and just out of sheer luck, kind of sold at the right time. Yeah, you know what I mean? I got lucky with timing. I wasn't any expert by any means. I would watch YouTube videos again and just be like, oh, cool, top of the market, sell.
Dogecoin.
It works.
Let's go.
Yeah. What's this? Cool. Anyway, so made some money there. So I started to just take that money and invest it in myself. I liquidated my 401k. I knew that 2020 was going to be my last year of hosting. And this was before COVID, actually. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So in 2019, I had started to tell my bosses at work, like, hey, 2020 is going to be my last year. It's 13 years in. My 401k was looking pretty healthy. My investments on the other back end were very healthy. So I was like, I'm going to see where this documentary takes me. I have an idea for a business, see what happens there and hopefully get some financial backing. So sure enough, just put in the work every single day. That kind of idea started to evolve into an actuality. So, so I go and I get the supplements manufactured. I get the branding, I get the name of the company, obviously all like the legality, all that stuff set up. And then we launch and we actually launch in February 2021 because there's a lot of manufacturing that goes in on the back end of the work. And instantly I realized like, I know nothing about business. Like, what am I doing, dude? I'm a nightclub host that like managed people's fun and I ran a couple Ironmans at this point. Like,
most people don't know anything about business is what I've learned too, but continue.
Yeah. So, again, this was a new challenge for me. So I said, okay, well, I'm all in on this. So I actually, one of the things I was the most weakest in was accounting. So, and then obviously owning your own business, accounting is so important. You start to learn about margins and stuff. You start to learn about numbers in a much different way.
For sure.
So I actually took a college accounting class and I would take the classes at night and I took a couple other like business courses. And then I would just watch a bunch of YouTube again, man. Like I'm being honest, like I would just start following people who would just offer the information and, filled up journals and books of notes. And I actually learned how to do the things that I didn't know anything about before I started the supplement company.
Nice.
And again, too, the idea is like, okay, cool. You make a good product. So one of our pre-workout product, Rise, is a morning green supplement with a pre-workout combination. And without still to this day sells off the shelf. So it's an incredible product. It's unique. It's one of the only ones on the market. There's no pre-workout that has greens in it.
Yeah.
So
huge.
it's super unique. I'll give you some.
Yeah, please. Because a lot of people, they just mix it. That's what I've done in the past. It's like, I'll just throw my pre-workout with my greens. And then, like,
so
I'll
that's
shake it up.
That's what I was doing. Remember, I was like, I used to mix that's exactly what I was doing as well. I would take AG1 and I would mix it with like a Ghost pre-workout.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I made that product essentially. And, so that's a good product. So you think to yourself, you're like, okay, I have a unique product. I have a good product. And then, I'm going to post an Instagram story. I'm going to make millions.
Yeah. I mean, hey, so sometimes it works.
Yeah. So then at this point, I have like 1,000 followers on Instagram, dude. I mean, I'm
it's
nothing.
Gonna blow up.
Man, we're going to crush it. I'm just going to word of mouth this thing to the moon, dude.
Yeah. That's how all products go. They just go viral, right?
Yeah, of course. Right. Yeah. So, that was my plan. Not a very good one. Wasn't well thought out. But, the support of the industry and the support of everyone in Las Vegas is unique. I grew up here. Las Vegas is an awesome place. So when you start a business, you lean into that. You lean into your friends. And it's like, your good friends will pay full price for it, even though you offer them a discount. And that kept us going for a while, a lot of the industry. And then the product's good. So they would run out. They say, I love this. So I do want to take this pre-workout. It's not just me buying this because you're
my friend or like you're in my network. Like, that's huge.
Yeah. So, they supported and we were able to kind of start to build a foundation within Las Vegas and then a little bit of a following on the Instagram page that I started. And then the financial backer that I had at the time started to, he was like, well, what should we do? And I was starting to use my network. So I went to everyone that was in marketing, whether, marketing for clubs and that was marketing for hotels.
Yeah.
I said, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to sell this product. And, I started to learn about like, DTC businesses and how to like start, marketing on Instagram and using socials, paying for ads, all that sort of thing. So we had these professional videos made and we started to put thousands of dollars behind, like we started to put like $20K a month in marketing advertising. And I had my best friend, Justin Levy, kind of build out the Facebook platform. The funnels. So we did that for a while. And again, you read something somewhere, you see somebody post like, oh man, I'm getting 3x, 3-to-1 ROI and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, easy. So yeah, we'll get 3-to-1. So if we spend 20, we'll get 60, right? No, it's not how it works. So we spent 20 for a while. We saw nothing. We saw a 1-to-1. So we were making our money back. And over time that just becomes stressful and draining. So, the financial backer's like, I'm not seeing anything here. What are we doing? We need to rethink things. So, and again, I learned so much about like money and raising money within business. At this point, he was just kind of paying the bills on the back end. That's not the way to do it. Don't recommend that at all. Another failure on my end. Yeah. Another lesson learned. But anyway, so we were doing this. And then at one point I was just like, stop. Like we're not seeing anything here. We're just kind of like, we're selling product, but the cost of, the shipments, the cost of shipping, the cost of the boxes, the cost to make the product, like we're barely breaking even, man. And it's a struggle. So I said, let's rethink this. Let me try to build a community and to start like actually building a following organically rather than having to try to pay for it, because supplements is a very saturated space. So you're never going to outspend the biggest companies ever. And you're never going to be able to make a claim that your product's better than theirs because they'll just spend more money than you. Yep. And it doesn't matter. Like our product probably is better than a lot of other products, but it doesn't matter. They have more money. They have more money and it's not known. Yeah. If somebody has more money than you, it's like they can just say, oh, well, ours is because of XYZ. And it's like, you're going to get crushed. Yeah. So I said, let's stop doing this. And then at that point in time, on the back end of this, the gym was up and going. So I realized, all the people that come here instantly just buy the product right off the shelf and I don't have to pay for it. Yeah. It's extra money. So I said, let's stop paying for advertising. So we did that. And I started to really try to grow the gym side of things. And that's how that whole system and process got started. And yeah, I mean, a true following is much better than a paid following.
For sure. So what's the bigger revenue driver right now? Is it the gym or
is it the gym? Yeah. Oh, by far the gym. Yeah, we don't do any advertising on the products anymore. Interesting. And it's still break even. It's not, that business isn't successful by any means in the fact that like it actually doesn't make money, but it allows us to keep purchasing more product and then still being able to ship it out and all that goes into it. And I do have a whole plan now to kind of go back into that and put a lot of time and effort into there to kind of grow it.
What's your plan?
Yeah. So now, well, with the organic growth of the gym and then with the growth of the brand to kind of make both one on the B10 side.
Yeah.
So again, I'm gonna like go back now and kind of redo advertising in a much different way. Instead of trying to make all these claims, more or less just focus on the brand side of things.
Totally.
Yeah, because you build the brand, right, rather than being like our product's better.
Yeah, 100%. Like for us, that's the main reason why we do all the stuff that we do, is because the more that we can spend time building our brand, getting community, we can sell them in reality just about anything we want. Obviously, we know we're going to put our name behind it and we're going to make sure it's a good product or good service. But if you have the brand and the community, you can sell anything you want, right?
Community's everything.
Yeah, 100%. And you have the same people going to the gym. You know, they're making friends. They're, you know, I'm sure they're hanging out with you, and then like they're like, yeah, of course I'm going to go buy your supplement. Or like if you, let's say you create like a new program or like a new course or whatever, like they're going to go buy it because like you've built all this trust, and all that good stuff. So
and like you said, like so. Once you start building the community, it kind of takes off because the word of mouth on that end, right? You really don't have to do much. You start providing a good service to somebody, they're going to tell their friends. But then what you do is you then go back and focus on the product.
For sure.
So I'm product focused and I'm service focused. So within our gym too, I'm always trying to innovate and make, get better results for our members, right? What can I buy? So we call it the off season. So over the last couple of years, we shut down over like Christmas break, and then we start again January 2nd. So it's like a 10-day break, and I'm always buying more equipment. This time around, I'm going to buy like an in-body machine. We're going to do a lot of things. We outsource a lot of that stuff now. I'm going to bring it all in-house and create another system where there's more touch points and more customer service. Love it. So I'm constantly innovating on that end. So through building that community, then for myself, I let the coaches kind of, basically form that community and manage it. And then I go back and I focus on the product.
There we go. So what's been the biggest challenge running the gym?
We started out identifying the brand. So it's a good question. So the answer to that question is brand identity. So when I first started, I had built a beautiful gym for myself. It was my own garage gym, my personal gym. I'd have my coaches come in, and I didn't want anybody to train there. It was private. It was just for me. Yeah. My girlfriend and I at the time, whatever. But when I opened the doors to having people come, and then I realized they're now asking me to train them. And I used to train all the sessions. I trained all the camps. I did, the programs. I did all that stuff in the beginning, and I just started burning myself out. And then I started to bring coaches in. But when you bring coaches in, I only knew the independent personal trainers. Okay. So these guys are all stars, right? These guys, they're their own business in a way, right? They do their own marketing, they do their own accounting, they do, everything themselves. And they built up this clientele. So when I went to bring them in, essentially what I'm asking them to do is say, hey man, I know over the last 10 years, you built up this, 20, 30, 40 members that pay you directly, but they're not going to pay you anymore. They're going to pay the business, right? And then I'm going to pay you. So that's a hard sell.
Totally.
But the vision, because and again, this is maybe another topic, but I'm building a whole new brand. I've got 40,000 square feet coming online
nice.
in 2025. Yeah. But anyway, so that vision, because I put together a nice deck. I have a vision. I'm on a mission. And then for the independent coach, I solve a lot of their problems. So the problems that they have is never take vacation, never really have family time, because they're at the beck and call of their member. If the member's like, hey, I can only train tonight at 6, well, guess what? You got to show up there at 6. You might have showed up for another member at 4 a.m, and now you got to come back at 6. And then the fluctuation with, some months are great, some months are bad, some months you have anything, health benefits, like everything that comes into it. And then the ability to relieve yourself of having to program for all 30 people when now the system does the program, the system does the marketing, the system does the accounting.
Plug into it. Yeah.
And you just plug in. So most people who I've talked to and I've interviewed, they love it. And they're like, oh, I want to buy into that. It relieves me a lot of stuff. And we pay very well. So we still pay top end, way more than any other big box gym out there. So with that being said, the biggest pain point was what are we? Are we an independent personal training gym? So the way it works now is you have these little studio gyms that pop up and the coaches pay rent. And so if you and I were to go there, we're going there specifically to work with one coach. We don't care about what the gym's called.
Yeah.
We don't care about that brand.
Yeah, it's not there for them.
It's not a brand to us. And when we post on our social media, we're just posting the coach. Hey, fit by whatever, Jason, whoever it is, right? Like, and another great workout session with Javi today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not promoting that it happened to be at a gym like a Dragon's Lair or a Life, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm posting the coach. So I'm like in this crazy, as the business and as the brand trying to think of ways like, oh man, how do we create a community that like our members buy into our system? That's the brand. And then they promote the brand rather than the coach. Because one of the biggest pain points is if a coach leaves, they can take, 20, 30% of your business by all the members leaving with them. There's no attachment at that point for the member with the gym. Yeah. They're attached to the coach.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'm currently still trying to solve that issue now. We've done a fantastic job of building systems so if you were to come to B10 now, it's wildly different than when it was 2 years ago. If you were to call me to come today or 2 years ago, I would say, hey, I'm going to get you in contact with a coach. So again, I would introduce you to a coach who I thought was best fit for you. And then now your relationship is with the coach. You almost don't even talk to me anymore, right? Yep.
And so how's it now?
Now, when you come in, you're going to meet with our director of member relations. She's going to walk you through all of our systems and our processes. From that point, you're going to meet with our chiropractor. That's going to put you through an assessment. Nice. It's a 40-point B10 assessment. Yeah. It's a pass-fail. That's going to put you in a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level of athlete. And then from there, you're going to be able to book with any coach based on your schedule. Our coaches work their hours. And if you can come in the morning, you may be with Dorian. If you come in at night, you may be with Kobe. So it's a different coach depending on your schedule. On my schedule. So let's say some days I want to come in on the morning. Some days I want to come in on the evening. Will I get a different coach? You'll get a different coach.
Got it. But it's the same program.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, exactly. So now, like I said, things have to evolve over time. So so that whole touch point system, you always have somebody that you can text. So it would be somebody like Kendra. She's amazing. She just had a baby, by the way. Congratulations, Kendra. If you're watching. Shout out Kendra. Yeah. So you would meet with her. She's been with the company almost since day one. And then you would meet with our chiropractor, and then you would kind of go into the system. But now there's another issue. So now when you kind of go into the system, like what program are you on? How do our coaches communicate? Right. So I have to build within the application that we use, build these, these ways where coaches can communicate. I have a director of performance now who oversees the coaches and essentially has like pre-shift meetings and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
And so you're building all that out personally?
So I'm building this out, and then I have an all-star team. So, they behind me, they're like, okay, cool. This is the way we're going to do it now. Yeah. And then dynamic programming, I've built programs for myself. I built programs for other athletes. And then the way that I want to do it, essentially, within your app coming soon, you're gonna be able to see your program. So if you travel, you'll be able to still stay and maintain your program. And then when you come in, it's a customer service, more so business now.
For sure. Yeah.
And our coaches are like level 5 coach. I pay for their education.
Love it.
Yeah. So they have to go and get certifications every year. It's mandatory. And I pay for it, or the business pays for it, I should say. And so they level up through certifications. They're constantly learning. They're constantly in the creative mind space. So
nice. Yeah. One thing that you mentioned that kind of stuck out to me, and this is kind of what we do here too, is you as a leader have to cast a vision so big that it's going to fit everybody else's goals underneath, right? Because you said previously, these guys and girls who are training, they have their 30 clients, they're making really good money. So how do you cast an idea and a vision that's going to fit like an umbrella, essentially, is going to fit them under it? And I think you're doing a pretty good job of it. At least that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. No, that's very well said. That's exactly what that's exactly what my position is, right? Yeah. So, I was lucky in the sense that I had a long runway of kind of watching how things were. So I was managing the supplement business, and then the coaches that would use my space, there was 2 of them at the time, they would pay me rent, and I would just watch over the course of months how this was going on. I would watch their pain points. I would watch the clients' pain points, like Clients' pain points is them not showing up on time. Their pain points is they're burnt out. So I started to just, like I said, write and take notes. And I was doing this unbeknownst to them. They had no idea that I was even thinking about what they were doing. They were just using my gym. And then when I wanted to work out, I would just use the gym and I would just say, hey guys, how's it going? And I would just work out with whoever was in there. But really I was developing a business plan. So I had months and months of, watching them go through their struggles. And I said, they're doing too much. They're doing too much. If we turn this into a business, then I will relieve them of all of their pain points as far as their own accounting, their own marketing. I put them on a set schedule. They'll have days off. They were having no days off. Sometimes they would show up at 5 a.m. and then they would leave for 3 hours and come back and work from like 7 to 10 at night. It was wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I said, no, dude, we're going to have a structure. We're going to be open from this time to this time. You're going to work from this time to this time. You're going to have an hour break. You're going to,
nice.
If you want to further your education, there's no more like, well, I can't even travel because I have to be here for my client that I just signed up. No, the business signed the client up. The client can train with any coach because they're on the same program, and you can take a week off and you can go on your vacation or you can go get another certification. So the vision is this, this basically flipping the personal training space on its head. And having a different vision behind it. Right now, it's very individual based. It's me and you. If I was your coach, I'm your coach.
Yeah.
Now I could tell you, hey, tonight we're working out at Lifetime. Tomorrow we're working out at Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, I just go where you go, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, when you come, you kind of buy in.
Go to that spot.
Yeah. Tied into that vision is the future. So like I said, I'm with me personally, training is the number one driver behind longevity. So what do we all want? At the end, and this is kind of nerdy, but this is how I think. Like, let's just say, for example, there's a preset based on your genetics, a length of life that you have, right? So, let's say it's 100 years.
Yep.
I can't add to that 100 years because genetically speaking, that's just, that's
how long you got.
That's how long.
Unless there's going to be some artificial stuff in
the future, right? So,
but genetically speaking, you got 100 years.
You got 100 years. Yeah. Let's just say, right? Some have 80, some have maybe 110, right? But through how you live your life and what you do and what you put in your body, what you put into your mind, your what you input, right? And then what you output as far as your exercise and your structure, the quality of those years they can range. Crazy.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's say like you have a identical twin and you guys each have 100 years. Let's say you worked out every day, you lived, you hydrated well, you took all your vitamins, all your supplements, you did everything,
all the right things.
Everything right. You have 95 quality years and then you rapidly decline at the end and that's it. Your time is done. Let's say your identical twin did smoke cigarettes and didn't monitor their sleep and was all over the place partying, and they would probably have about 60 quality years. And for about 35 more years, they're just going to live a very rough, like hard to get out of bed. They hurt, all this sort of stuff. So you see where I'm going with this. So I can't necessarily give you more than 100 because let's say that's kind of predetermined based on your genetics, but I can definitely give you more quality years. And that's my focus. My focus is longevity. Now, the number one driver of longevity is physical exercise. That's number one. So over anything else, physical exercise has the most impact on the quality years that you can live in your life expectancy and in your longevity, if you will. And obviously then from there, you look at other markers like your nutrition and your hydration and all that stuff, your supplementation, what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, obviously managing your levels. And then the third side of it is preventative medicine. So preventative health. So going to the doctor when you're healthy rather than when you're sick. So I'm big on this. So I go see the doctor every 3 months. I get a blood work panel. Now I'm 36. Most people my age, they've never even had one, not even one. Right? You're supposed to do it once a year, which is that's even terrible in my opinion. I do it every 3 months, and it's interesting because like last one I got, they're like, oh, cholesterol's a little high. I'm like, yeah, I'm eating a lot more red meat because I'm just kind of supplementing with this. And they're like, yeah, well, take this red yeast rice. It's very natural. And then the very next blood work panel, my cholesterol went all the way back down. So
interesting.
Yeah.
With
so
the same diet, right?
Same diet, but I was just naturally supplementing with red yeast rice. Yeah.
Interesting. And so how selective are you with the doctors that you're going to? Have you had to pick a few that like really understand like your goals and your physical fitness when they're looking at this blood work? Or do you feel like just about any doctor can take a look and say like, okay, hey, these are my recommendations for you?
Yeah. So I have one doctor, and I've had my one doctor for a very long time. When I was in high school, I had a health scare. They thought I had cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was actually diagnosed with cancer. It's a blood cancer, runs in the family. My grandfather, unfortunately, passed away from the same blood cancer. They thought I had it. My white blood cell count was through the roof. It was attacking everything in my body. I felt like I had the flu every day.
Wow.
I felt like I had the flu for months.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So I used to go. Now, this was a blessing because this taught me about blood. It taught me about like the power of knowing what's going on in your body. So I used to have to go to this cancer specialist every day and draw blood.
Wow.
Dude, I have no fear of needles, man.
Yeah.
Like I mean, at this point, like it was beating out of me because like every day I'm like, yeah, go ahead. It was a process. And then, for a while my blood cell count was going up and they were like, dude, we need to start chemo. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. Cause even in high school, once I was told that they thought I had this, then I said, I'm going to study it. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. So I juiced, I didn't eat. I did all this crazy stuff. This was in high school. I was a junior. So, and I didn't really tell anybody. My parents and my family knew. So like my grandparents were all in town. They were crying every day. It was a mess, but I'm like, I don't have this, guys. Like, there's no way. Like, I just feel like I'm a little bit sick. And I tried to live as much normal life as possible with now having to go see this guy every day after school. So I got my blood work done. And at first I'm like defiant towards it. I'm like, I don't have this. You guys are silly. But then I started to like be like, well, if I got to come here anyway, might as well learn about it. So I started to ask him like, hey, dude, let me see it. Like, let me see the results. And I started to have him walk me through things like, dude, my liver enzymes, like proteins, all this sort of stuff, but blood cell counts, like all this stuff. And I started asking him questions like, what does this mean? What does that mean? I would always question him. I would stay later and just pick his brain. Very nice guy. Anyway, over the course of time, to end that story, my blood cell count evened out, and then it started to drop, and I was essentially free of cancer. But I was like, I never had it to begin with.
Interesting. So did they say like what was the actual thing that you had, or did they? Is it a mystery?
No. So I don't ever know the name of it. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of leukemia. It's like a weird, like a very long, like it's just a type of blood cancer. Yeah.
Got it.
And that's essentially what they thought I had. And, of course, like the doctor's like, man, your blood cell count's evening out. Like this is a miracle. We don't really see this,
Yeah. But
I said no to the chemo. So right when they wanted to put me in chemo, I said, no way. Like they want to get you in there like as quickly as possible. Yeah. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. That's just what they know now. That's the system that it is now. But I learned at that point in time, like I should probably get blood work done because, we can catch this stuff before it happens. So from that point moving forward, it was mandatory for me to. It wasn't every day, but it was then once a month, and then it was once every 2 months, and it was once every 3 months. And I maintained once every 3 months until now. So I have a concierge doctor. His name is Dr. Alfredo. He's great. He's sold out. Like I can't even get my best friends in there to see him. But essentially I pay a monthly fee and I have access to talk to him whenever I want. And he has a team, so it's like a service. So I can text and say, hey, I'm not feeling well. And they'll be like, hey, come in, get a Z-Pack, get a shot or whatever you want to do as far as like, fill you up with vitamins, get you an IV. I can do anything that I want. And every 3 months I just say, hey, I'm going to come in and get my blood drawn. They're like, cool. They run through my insurance and I test it that way.
That's awesome.
Hormone levels, blood panels, all that sort of stuff. I get the full panel. Yeah. So kind of backing up, that's the third piece of the pie, out of the 3-piece pie. And so I'm building a brand, and B10 is going to be its own thing. It has become its own thing. It runs on its own. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great community. I'll look to maybe scale the B10 model. It's a smaller footprint, very easy to do, and you can find any sort of warehouse space that'll allow you to
just
have
go try
a
to
gym.
franchise it or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Maybe franchise, maybe keep it private for a little bit. I don't know yet.
We'll see.
But keep the B10 going, and I'm developing this new brand on a much higher end. And I just want to change people's perception on what they should be spending money on. I think your number one cost should be on your health and wellness. So, I mean, it's going to be very expensive because the service that we provide is very expensive. You're going to have a 24/7 concierge medical doctor. You're going to have your chiropractor. You're going to have your nutritionist. You're going to have your mental coach. You're going to have your physical fitness coach.
That's awesome.
You get all of this in this system. Yeah.
So have you figured out price points and stuff for it yet?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Rough idea of like how much you think it's
about
gonna cost.
$1,500 a month.
Okay, that's actually less than what I thought.
Yeah. Now maybe there's a tiered system. Maybe
Sure.
1,500 is baseline. Maybe the top tier is about $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Based on what we can do. So I'm going to in-house as much as I can. So they're going to be employees of my holding company, my parent company. And then we'll outsource the medical team. I'm not a doctor, so I speak as if I am, but I'm not. And yeah, so we'll outsource that. So depending on their services and how it fits into our program, how can I offer you unlimited without even having to pull your wallet out? All the services, maybe looking at around $2,000 a month.
Which
but
still is not that bad.
It's not.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a small exclusive membership, 500 members max. We own the campus, so I bought 2 acres of land. Got the developers building 3 buildings. We'll have a medical building, a wellness building, and then our gym.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it's right on Buffalo and 215.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, like I probably spend, if I think about it, between like I have like my gym membership, I go to Lifetime. I'm on ClassPass,
which they keep raising the price, by the way.
I know, dude.
300 a month now. I mean, I pay for it too.
Yeah, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And like, and I get it. I go to the one in Summerlin, but so there's that. I'm on ClassPass because I'll do like like right now I'll do like yoga. I'm doing like 2 a days, just trying to
good
pick back up a little bit. I was like getting lazy a little bit with my fitness.
It happens.
Yeah, I was going to the gym and I was doing stuff, but I was maybe at like 70, 80% of like just doing whatever. So like I picked it back up. So I'm like big on like yoga. Then I'm doing my like high intensity interval stuff, and then still going to the gym. But yeah, so I pay for that. I have the highest membership, so it's another 150 for ClassPass. So I'm at like 500. Then if I think about like going massage / chiropractor, it's another 100, 150 or so. Yeah, I'm already at like $700, and then that doesn't include like any doctor type stuff that I'm doing. So yeah, like.
Okay, so this is amazing because you're explaining my business model perfectly.
Yeah.
So and you have to go to different places for all that stuff.
Yeah, different places. They don't like, I have to, and that's not including any programming either, right? Like I'm doing all my own stuff or like same YouTube University, like just going online.
It's just to enter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and this is just to like go to the stuff, not real. And I'm doing all my own programming, like I said. So I don't have like a coach. I don't have anyone telling me what to do. I'm just like, through years of kind of doing fitness and like knowing what my body responds to.
Yeah, what you see.
Yeah, so like you're like I would be a client. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. So now imagine everything being under one roof. Imagine you having an application. Okay. So you open up this application, all of your health stats are in there, your diagnostics are in there. So the thing is I do get 3-month blood works, but it gets printed out on a piece of paper and I lose a piece of paper. I'm like, where is that at? I'm like, oh dude, was it my liver enzymes? Was it my kidneys? What was it? What do I need to do? Was it red yeast? Was it this? You know what I mean? Imagine all of this being in the app. I can pull it up at any point in time. So when I'm at Whole Foods, I can be like, oh yeah, cool. Natural supplementation that I needed to get. Imagine your programming, imagine your nutrition plan, right? And then imagine like a daily thing. And then imagine, because I'm trying really hard to partner with Whoop. I'm trying to get in contact with Will Ahmed, the owner, CEO.
That'd be sweet.
Something like that, where our members will get Whoop and we'll track their sleep and their health.
Is Whoop your favorite? Like
Whoop's my favorite.
So have you tried everything else or not really?
I haven't tried Aura, but I've tried. I mean, I have Garmin. Garmin has their own way of tracking.
I know, like the Apple Watch is like very like basic. Like
I don't like the Apple Watch.
I've heard good things about Whoop. I've never tried it. Like I like the Ring. Like I feel like it works better than the Apple Watch because I used to wear both just to kind of like test. Yeah. But yeah, people love the Whoop. So we'll see. I might test it.
I'm a big Apple guy. I love the company and the brand. I don't like the Apple Watch as far as those
like the fitness training. Yeah.
And because monitoring your heart rate through wrist is crazily inaccurate. So I wear a heart rate monitor, right? So and then it's interesting, right? When I connect the heart rate monitor to my watch, it automatically changes by like 10. There's times I'm like, didn't wear the heart rate monitor. I'm trying to track it with my wrists, and I'm like on a bike workout, and I know my heart rate's at least 130 and saying like 71. I'm like, dude, that's not even close. It's saying I'm sleeping, and I'm like on the bike right now. So
back to what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, so imagine all of that being in one place. You open up the app; it's all at your fingertips. We are, like I said, a customer service business. So you now are going to be able to schedule anything you want. You can schedule your sports massage. You can schedule, your nutrition consult. You can schedule your personal training workout. All of it's included. The program is going to be done for you. So the program will get uploaded to you once a month. It's monthly programs. You'll go through a monthly assessment. So you'll touch the chiropractor once a month where they'll kind of assess you again. Maybe you improve from beginner to intermediate. You're going to get a different program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then imagine, we're a text concierge service too, so you can text us like maybe you didn't want to go on the app or you got no internet, whatever's going on, and you can't book the session, or maybe it's blocked off because there's too many members already. You can text and say, hey, can you guys get me in or whatever, and the answer is always yes to our members. It's a total country club.
Yeah.
Within the building, we're gonna have a little restaurant that's gonna give you your custom personal after work protein shake, whatever you want.
Love it.
If you want to add the fiber in there, we can do that. Yeah. So
give me my protein shakes, like little meals and stuff like that. Because that's the next thing too that I like. I'm sure you're probably thinking about like meal prep and all that. Like that's a huge industry as well.
Yeah, meal prep's huge. We would probably partner with somebody to.
You don't need to be a chef.
No, I don't want to be behind the. But yeah, so and then we have a WeWork facility that's going to be built in there, so you can get your work done there. We have a little media room too. So let's say you wanted to do an off-property podcast, or you wanted to interview one of the members there, you can do so. And it's going to be very affluent. It's going to be very exclusive. 500 of the top people are going to go to Summit. Obviously, Summit, Southern Highlands, TPC, like these country clubs. A lot of those members are members at my gym currently, and they'll kind of follow over. And yeah, we're going to try to make it at a price point to where, unless you're living in a very nice house and your mortgage is higher, you should be paying more on your health and wellness than you do your car.
For sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just kind of changing there's you pay that much to go into Lifetime, and albeit Lifetime is beautiful and it's very good facilities, and you're going there rather than going to LVAC because of the difference in quality of the facility, right? Yeah. But you don't get anything. You pay that money to open the door, right? LVAC is $20 a month, Lifetime's $300. Well, now you're going to get all of this. You have multiple coaches. You're going to live like an athlete would.
Yeah, which I love. Like I think
you would live like LeBron James. You're gonna have everybody, and they're all at. You can message them at any point in time. You can change. You can evolve. It's all dynamic.
So when's the timeline? You said 2025.
2025. Yeah. So They just broke ground. They just are starting to put the plumbing in now. They're gonna lay the concrete.
Exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a whole media thing behind it too. It's funny because I'm kind of circling back to my original idea of like posting on YouTube. To do my Ironman. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like circling back to like, well, I always wanted to start a YouTube. So I'm going to start a YouTube and basically show the evolution from the ground up, this brand being built, while running B10, all while still training for Ironman.
Yeah, I mean, you have such an interesting story, and you're very well spoken. It's been a great podcast. We're already like an hour and a half in. Feels like it's been like 10 minutes. But yeah, I think there's no reason why you shouldn't like be telling your story, because it's interesting. I think there's like a lot of value that people can get from like the training that you're doing, the supplementation, and then just like, so there's people would watch is all I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
But with that being said, I just looked at the time. I have a person that I was supposed to interview 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
So she's upstairs waiting. But what's one thing that you feel like you would want, like if you left the earth tomorrow, what would you want your message to be?
My message. Oh man.
Yeah, it's a big question.
That's a deep question. There is no finish line. Yeah, so you see it on my hat.
Yeah.
I trademarked that. Nike kind of abandoned it. But anyway, yeah, there's no finish line. And what I mean by that is, life is an everyday. Mm-hmm. It can be a battle. It could be easy. It could be hard. Choose your hard. There's no finish line to it though. So it's not like, you do a program for a month and then you're like, cool, I made it. No, you never made it. You gotta monitor your health, your wellness, your mental, your education, all that stuff every day.
Love it.
Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop. So where can people find more about you?
I mean, like I said, right now I'm terrible when it comes to social media. Yeah. So right now it's just on my Instagram, which I got to rethink how I do that as well. But J_Hubbard, you can follow me on Instagram. There will be a YouTube coming on, and I just want to start providing more information like this to help people rather than like me working out in the gym. Mm-hmm. I was like posting videos of me working out thinking like, I just want the likes. It's all ego, right? Like I'm strong. I do Ironman. It's like, dude, that's like, I'm not offering anything to anybody. So I'm going to start like, doing a lot more, putting myself out there, being more vulnerable. And like I said, filming this whole process, and it's going to be a business, sort of like the evolution of business and also human performance, because I do train every day. Mm-hmm. I'll do a couple more races next year too. So kind of showing all that.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks guys. And that's it. Peace.